Hello everybody, this is Donna from Purple Pinky Promises. Thanks for joining me today. I am bringing you this vintage strawberry card. I love this so much. So let's just dive right on in. The first set I'm showing you here that I'm working with is the Nature Lover stamp set. It's from Prima Marketing, and I'm grabbing my frayed burlap, and I am going to create a background with this. Very light-handed, going over the whole front of the card. Then I'm going to go in a little heavier around those edges to give it that distressed, aged look. So once I get this done, I'm ready to do some stamping. And what I'm trying to do is create a background, a little vintage looking background that's layered. This is where the Nature Lover stamp set comes in. And I am inking this up again, once again, I guess. Yes, once again in frayed burlap. And when I showed you that stamp set again, I was showing you which stamps I was using from the set. So I'm just going to go around and just kind of layer up with some stamps. You'll see here in a minute that I decide to stamp some more, but use some second generation stamping. And I still have ink on my stamps, and I decide, you know what? Let's get to it. Let's use the leftover ink and kind of do some repetitiveness with this sentiment, or not the sentiment, but background. So here I am stamping second generation with this stamp, and I'm going to go back over that flower, the spot where I stamped that flower. I wasn't really happy with how it turned out, and there we go. Now you can tell it's a flower. So now we're getting ready to ink up our leaves from the set that we're using. It's a Lawn Fawn set, and I'll show you here later exactly what die set that I used from Lawn Fawn. If I said stamp set, I apologize, I meant dies. So I'm just going over this in Rustic Wilderness. And I am hitting it heavy in spots and really light in others. And you'll see why here in a bit when I go back over it with a lighter ink color. I end up putting some Shabby Shutters in those light spots. And I'm doing the same thing with the tops of the strawberries, and as well as the extra leaves that I have die cut. So going heavy-handed in some places and going light in others. All right. Next, I'm going to do these backgrounds for the strawberries. We want some yellow to shine through on the background. So I'm using scattered straw, and in some areas I'm getting it dark on that background, in other areas I'm getting it light. Okay, so I started inking up the top of that strawberry, but I'll come back to it here in a minute. These are the flowers, and I have decided that the very center of those flowers are not quite dark enough, and I will show you what I did with those in a minute. But right now I'm just lightly going over those flowers so they aren't so stark white. And I decided that those centers aren't quite dark enough, so I'm taking some Fossilized Amber this time, which is a brighter, darker, richer color. And I'm giving it some ink. Now, I ended up putting those little tiny spots of die cuts on that Spellbinders paper. It held it in place so I wouldn't have to chase it. All right, now I'm taking some frayed burlap to give those flowers a little vintage look. So here we have some fired brick ready to ink up those strawberries. I really like this color for the strawberries as a base color. Really nice and deep red. So now I'm going in with aged mahogany to kind of give it some depth. and some highlighted coloring. So you can see there, it's really becoming more realistic looking as we add layers of colors. Okay, now here I am with the Shabby Shutters. I'm going over those light areas that I did not ink up really heavy, and I'm going over it with the Shabby Shutters. I do that for all the leaves until they're complete. And I think I pulled out one of those bigger sets of leaves to show you that as well. Yep, here we go. So just going in there where the I'm taking a brush from that Rustic Wilderness and kind of blending it a little bit more. That's what I was doing there. So I'm just basically taking that lighter color of ink and going back over it. And those just turned out so pretty, so realistic looking. And yes, I am taking some aged mahogany and I am putting them on my leaves. This might shock you, this might surprise you, but adding that little extra hint of red to your leaves is so stunning. It just adds, I can't even explain it. It just adds reality to it. Makes them look even more real. All right, so I did that with all of my leaves. And now we're going to go through and we're just going to add a little bit of green. And I am going to start with the darkest green, which is the Rustic Wilderness. And I'm going to add a little Shabby Shutters and then go back over it with Fired Brick. And I do this to all of my strawberries. I follow the same process that you are about to watch here. I didn't bore you with all of them. I just showed you the first two so that you could kind of get an idea of how that flows. That Shabby Shutters on there adds a little bit of a highlight to it. Okay, I'm just sizing it up with its background to see what it's going to look like. And now we're going to add some of that scattered, is that scattered straw or is that fossilized amber? I think we're taking the fossilized amber. Yes, we are. We're taking fossilized amber. We're hitting the tops of those strawberries so that they look a little more realistic underneath the leaves. So I'm going to do that to all of the tops of my strawberries. And you'll see here in a minute, I actually come back to them here with some picket fence to lighten them up. But before I do that, I need to get any residue off of them so that that ink doesn't transfer back onto my brush and pad, my picket fence. So that really lightens it up quite a bit. So it's not quite so orangey. I do want a glow, but I don't want it to be a really orange glow. I want it to have a little bit of a light glow. So I do that to all of those strawberries. And here, I left this part in this video because I wanted you to see what I had envisioned doing with this card. This was how I originally wanted to do this card, was take the vine across the top and down the left. Okay, and now I'm just putting the backs of my strawberries on, and you'll see that the reason I did do some of that background dark and light was just to give it some variation when it peeks through those the front of that strawberry. Excuse my voice, it's a little late. I am ready for bed. So you can excuse my brain fog if I mess up this video as well. All right, I decided, I really thought it just needed something around the edges to finish it off, and certainly it did. So I grabbed that Rustic Wilderness and I went around the edges of all of those strawberries. It really did make a big difference. Just made them pop. So now I've added all the tops to those strawberries. And oh, we're putting the flowers together first. And then I'll kind of talk to you about the struggle that I had with the layout of this card. Those little tiny pieces would definitely get lost if you're going to ink them up. Well, I would lose them. You may not lose them, but I would. And they would go everywhere if I was trying to ink them up. Those little tiny pieces, almost next to impossible to ink up. So that's why I popped them onto some Spellbinders Best Craft Tape Ever. And I'm using my gem pecker here to get the pieces lined up and together, and I'm just giving these flowers some dimension by folding them and so they don't lay flat. Well, I really, really loved this, but there was something that bugged me about it. And I'm showing you that these dies, the strawberry dies, are from Lawn Fawn. The stitched strawberry frame is the first one. And most of those strawberries come from the Strawberry Patch dies. All right, now here we go. This stamp set is called Mothers and Daughters, and I used the friend sentiment from it. And I inked it up in ground espresso. I decided that I wanted to have multicolored sentiment. And the second word is going to be, or technically, yes, the second word is sweet. And so I'm masking off all the words around that sentiment in that set. And I'm going to dip it into my ink, get it good and inked up in that aged mahogany. And then I peel off my craft tape. Then I'm going to stamp it so that all of the rest of that stamp set is clean, and the only thing that's inked up is the sweet. So now I need my, and I just grabbed the Tea-rriffic stamp set from Lawn Fawn. Going to use that ground espresso and ink just the edge of that up enough to get the word my sweet friend. So I trimmed it down off screen, and now I'm going in here and just creating a banner, slitting it down the middle, and then taking those corners up to that center point. Now I'm going to take that frayed burlap and just really give that banner give it a vintage look and feel with frayed burlap. All right. So I really worked this over and over and over, trying to figure out what was it that bugged me about it so bad. I never did figure it out until after I was done. So I end up not doing my card like this, as you can tell in the preview of this card at the beginning. I really wanted to do it this way, but it just didn't feel right. It just didn't look right. Well, I'll tell you what would have happened. And just by the way, before I move on to this would have looked really pretty if I did do some vines and some leaves and some strawberries at each corner. That would really be pretty. Anyway, going back to this. So what bothered me, I figured it out. Those background stamps should come all the way down. If they had come all the way down, there would be some peeking out from underneath, and I really believe that would have made a difference. So now I'm trying to redesign this. in a different way. And it takes me quite a bit of time to work this through. So we're just going to sit here for a minute and watch me struggle until I finally get it. So at some point I realized that I don't want my leaves to go off the edge of the card. I don't want to trim them. I want to leave all my leaves on there. And one of the things that was really bothering me was that the card went all the way to the bottom and that sentiment was kind of down from the top. So you'll see here, I figured out that I need just to bring everything up. And as far as that bottom goes, I bring it up, scrunch everything together, and it makes a huge difference. So now I've decided I definitely want that strawberry and all the greenery and the flower on the sentiment. So I'm putting that together because that's a done deal. It looks nice. I like it. It works. This sentiment would look really cute just as it is with that strawberry on there. So adding that to a sentiment is actually really cute. Okay. So now I'm just kind of sizing it up again. Reconfiguring. I do this quite a bit until I finally figure it out. And that's about to happen here soon. I realized right there what I was doing was trying to cover up the fact that I had stamped that upside down, that postage stamp. Oh, the things we do to cover up our mistakes. And there it goes. It's going to get pushed up from the bottom. Some people may not be too thrilled about watching this process, but other people, I think, there it is. There, it got scooched. There. Now I'm like, yep, now we're cooking with grease and we have it. But some people who are not used to layering and such like to watch the process. And I layer things up because in a format of what looks good, where are the gaps that create a situation where it doesn't flow together. So I have put this on dimension foam tape. And now we're back to fiddling with it. And that is how I ended up ended up with my complete card. And I don't show you the whole process of gluing this, but folks, there's not really a whole lot of rocket science to how I put these layered projects down. I set it down and I just lift and put that glue behind it. That's how I layer. So I pulled that strawberry off because that one was going to go on dimension, and I just figured it's easier to access things if stuff's out of the way. So that one's going to go on dimension as well. And I show you this. I decided I didn't like the way that that leaf looked. So I snipped it off, and we're going to use it somewhere else. So here we go. And excuse my yawning. Whew, I'm tired. I've had a very long day. So I'm going to shift those leaves, add this one, and now the strawberry goes down. We're going to get some dimension on it. Pop it down, and then that leaf that I cut off is going to get tucked underneath right there to the left of that strawberry. And voila! Now all we have left are these cute little flowers. Now, I will tell you that I ended up adding some of these metallic pearls from Pinkfresh, the matte gold ones. I stuck them underneath the sentiment there because it just seemed so blank and blah. And you'll see that on the finished card. It did kind of help the finishing touch on it. And I used those Nuvo drops, and I put them down inside those strawberries to give them a little bit of shine. But I will warn you, if you're not careful, you're gonna, if you touch over into your red, because the distress inks are, they activate with water. And so essentially you have to be careful. If you're gonna use those Nuvo drops, have a steady hand and be very careful. Well, that's it, folks. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this project. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos, and hit that like button and make a comment. It helps. Even if you don't make a purchase, all three of those things really do help us. Make sure you go over to the website, purplepinkypromises.com. Take a look around and shop if you want to, or just go to the bottom of that page and hit that subscribe button. Maybe you're not ready to buy now, but at some point in time you might be. And you won't miss our sales and announcements and things like that. So if you hit that subscribe, you'll get emails from me. All right. Take care, guys, and have a great day. Bye-bye.